Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Comfy Org stream. It's me. I'm Purz. I'm here with Rob. How's it going, Rob?
Hey everyone, glad to be here.
Don't mind the air conditioning in Rob's, what do they call that? Cage? What they got you in there?
A pretty nice cage, actually.
Yeah,
Glass
meeting cage. Yeah,
meeting cage.
yeah. Rob's at the office, and yeah, we're here to just hang out. Rob's gonna learn along with y'all today about Blender and sort of how to take these assets that we make in Comfy and do stuff with them in 3D, which is really fun. Um, I've been using Blender for a long time, so both Chat and Rob, if I blast past something that doesn't jive or did not make sense, please stop me and we'll go back and we'll talk about it because Blender is a many-headed Hydra beast. So when people say, "Do you want to learn Blender?" It's like, what do you want to actually do? Because Blender can do everything. So what we're going to do today is just focus on taking characters out of Comfy, rigging them with Mixamo, making them dance, then pulling them into Blender and seeing what we can do with the model. We'll make a little animation of the person or thing dancing, and then we can talk about how you can go further with that kind of stuff. So yeah, Blender, Comfy, all the fun stuff. The 3D stuff's coming along really, really fast. It's getting to the point where you can pretty much make whatever you want. All these assets are really, really awesome, and you can make them at all the different sort of polygonal levels. So you can make really dense meshes, you can make low poly stuff, and yeah. Oh, we already got questions. Open room says, will we be making video or images? Today we are making 3D models, and then we're going to take those models into Blender. And we're going to make a video out of it, but you could take pictures. You could do whatever you want. You'll see when we get there. All right, let's just jump in. Screw it. Oh, also, we'll be back probably Friday. Rob and I are going to do another quick live stream on Ideogram 4 and all of its wonder and amazing stuff. So stay tuned for Friday stream as well. That'll be super fun. We might have some special guests too. We'll see. Okay, let me go pull up my screen. Do screen share. I guess we'll share this tab. I'll just share my whole screen. Why not, eh? I don't think we need the audio. No. Okay. Yeah, hopefully you all can see this. This is just a little workflow. I grabbed a picture we made with, I believe, Quen image maybe, and then turned it into a character, like a 3D character in a T pose. T pose is when you have the body and it's like all stretched out. Like, oh yeah, I didn't just realize you guys can't see us. There we are. Yeah, so you'll see that when the body's all stretched out, the hands are all stretched out like that. Basically, it lets you put a skeleton in the body very easily. So that's what we're going to do today. When we make our characters, we're going to make them in a T pose. And to ask for that, you can just ask for it in the prompt. So just to look at our prompt really quick, this is just Nano Banana 2. Oh, there we go. And it says adorable 3D character on a black background, front shot, T pose. You can stylize this character however you like, but what you don't want to do is put it, tell it it's a figurine or tell it it's a statue or anything that's going to have a base, because you're going to want your character to have independent feet so that they can dance and move around, that kind of thing. So even though this is just a chest shot, waist up shot, because I asked for the character on a black background, because I asked for a T pose, it gave me a T. And yes, there's a built-in node called Trellis. Trellis is great. We will build with Trellis down the road. I don't think we have it on cloud yet. But yeah, today we're...
Purz, jumping in with the first new question of the day. So the purpose of T-pose is just so you can rig.
Yeah, when you jam the skeleton into their body, because their arm here... Zoom in a bit. Because their arm here... Let me zoom in even more. See how it's disconnected from the body here in the armpit? if your character isn't in that kind of pose, their arm gets stuck to their body, and then when they move around, they can't like disconnect their arms and shoulders. So what the T pose does is that when you put the skeleton in, it separates all the body parts in such a way that they don't stick together later when you make the rig move. This is the best way to like get a good separation on your model, is to build your model like this and then rig it and then make it move. Um, Sometimes Mixamo will just work and you'll just get away with it, but for the most part, you want to try and get your model like this kind of style. Humanoid T pose. Yeah, basically an action figure. So we can just make her dance, or we can just make a new character. Let's just make her dance. Let's just run this whole thing. So you would start with an image, drag it into Nano Banana here, image to image one in Nano Banana, ask for the pose, durable 3D character on a black background, front shot, T pose, blah, 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 blah. It'll make that image. There's currently a bug where if you plug this output of Nano Banana right into a 3D node, it'll actually make an image that has 4 bodies side by side. I don't know why. What you have to do is save your image first, then load it with an image load node. You can't actually wire it through. I was trying to get all fancy and make like this, all in one workflow for doing this, but you actually have to do it in 2 stages. That might be something we can fix. I'm going to complain about it tonight and see if the team can do anything about it. Sometimes they listen to me when I complain. Sometimes they don't. They usually listen when you guys complain, though. So please complain away. Okay. Yeah. So
Can we go over the inputs for Rodin?
what's that?
Can we run through
Yeah.
the inputs for Rodin? I'm kind of just looking. I have no idea.
Oh,
what's
sure.
going
So
on
yeah.
there.
So we'll make our image, and this is the image that it made. I'd have to run it again for it to show up, but we'll do the rigging in a minute, Eric. One sec. We're going to do that in Mixamo, but I'll show you how to do that. It's really easy. All right, load image, Rodin. So we're taking this image that we made with Nano Banana. We're loading it into Rodin. Let me do all the outputs because there's an advanced outputs down here, inputs down here. You don't need it really. So first input is image 0, which is the first image. Rodin can do multiple images. So we can actually ask for a back and a side shot and give it 2 more images. It'll make an even better model. But in this case, it actually hallucinated the back and it did a really good job. So it's kind of fine. But if you have a thing that you're trying to build that's like kind of a strange shape or has something very unique going on the back, recommend doing multiple shots, front, back, side kind of deal. And yeah, so all these settings here, let's go through the node real quick. Our mode, we have regular, fast, and extreme high. Fast is just faster and I think maybe slightly cheaper. Extreme high, I believe, takes longer and costs more credits, but it gives you like a better mesh. I've had really good results with regular. Like this is a great mesh for what we're doing today. It's not super high poly, but it's enough to really convey the details. The tier here, we have low, medium, and high. So these are just the models. There's a low, medium, and high version of the model. I use the high, it just looks the best. This is where you can set your sort of top limit of polygons. Polygons are the little pieces that make up the mesh. So if you think of them as all the little triangles or all the little parts of the mesh, whenever you see a wireframe for a mesh, that's all the little triangles that make up the wireframe. Here you can say how many you'd want maximum, which is great if you're making video game assets because you can stick to like 18, 50,000, and that'll make assets that won't kill your computer when you have like 100 characters on the screen and stuff like that. Once you get into like the millions, 500K, 150K, some of those meshes get so big that if you start bringing them into game engines, they're just ginormous and you're not getting much out of it. So in this case, I didn't even set it. We can pull it into Blender and see how big it is. It's probably giant. I don't know. Creative, when you have it in medium or high mode, it'll just try to do a better job at going from image to mesh by like hallucinating in some details and stuff like that. I like to leave it off unless it's really not working, and then we go on. the material here, you can pick either shaded or procedural. If you pick procedural, it'll actually feed you out the whole material pack, which is the color, the roughness, the height, and what else? A bunch of other crap, normals. Basically, all the things you need to light your material in a 3D environment. Shaded is just a very simple material that will just all the light will hit it the same way across the board and stuff like that. So it's sort of flat and simple. PBR, yeah, I sorry, I didn't mean to say procedural, just PBR. And yeah, for this, we're going to use FBX because that's what Mixamo can import. It can also import object, but I didn't have a good experience with that. So just from my testing, we're going to stick with FBX. They're just different 3D model formats, and they contain the materials in different ways and contain animations in different ways. FBX is sort of the most universal now. GLB as well, but GLB doesn't work with Mixamo. And then in texture mode here, you can just pick how detailed you want your textures. I'm sure it just increases the cost the higher you go, but you'll get nicer quality textures. But this is all with everything at default, and it looks really good to me. And then once you have your FBX, which is just saved after you're done with Rodin here, go into your assets. It'll be over here. We can just download it. You'll notice for some reason it's black and white. I don't actually know why. They don't have textures in the media assets panel, but it doesn't matter because they do when we get it into Mixamo. So let's jump out of Comfy real quick, open up a new tab and type mixamo.com. I'll put the link in the chat, and I'll also put these links in the description of the video, as well as I will make this workflow and then link it as well from Comfy Hub, so you can just start. It looks like my old model is stuck in the ground a little bit. Just to give you an idea of what's happening here, this is a model I made of myself earlier. If I just give it an animation, we can bring it to life. As you can see, my model is very fat, so my hands actually go inside of me. But yeah, we just get like normal poses that I make every day. I might get one of these for my desk, actually.
There's a lot of gel in its beard right
yeah,
there.
it's really not pleasant. All right, so let's get rid of this monstrosity and upload the character we just made. If you haven't logged into Mixamo, just log in with your Adobe account or create an Adobe account using your Gmail or whatever. It's free. It's all free. It's just a tool that Adobe acquired back in the day, and they just keep it running. And we just keep enjoying it because basically what it does is lets you inject a skeleton into a mesh and then make the mesh dance or do whatever. So in this case, I'm uploading the this model we just made. Maybe. Watch it not work now. Oh, here we go. It's loading something. Can you change the outfit after? No, you have to do that on the way in. When you make your 3D mesh, it has to be wearing the outfit you want them to be wearing. You cannot change it later. The whole person, the outfit, the hair, they're all one congruent mesh. They are not different from their clothes. It is all just one. Think of it as just like an exoskeleton around their clothing. So yeah, next. So all we do here is we just place these markers so that it knows where let me see if I can zoom in on this a bit. Is that nice? Yeah, that's bigger. Okay. So you just have to place these markers on your model in the places where they go. So in this case, her chin, we got to pick her chin, and there's a nice little zoom view here to really let you lock in. So we want to get it on her chin, and then we want to get wrists, which are about right here, elbows, which are probably about here, knees, and then groin, so it knows where the legs are connected. And that should do it. Use symmetry if your person is like a normal skeleton. But if they're off axis in some way, you can uncheck this use symmetry here, and then you can reposition them so that they fit on your character. So if you got like a monster that's all like lopsided or whatever, and it has this like a lean to it, you can totally just decouple these from the symmetry and do your thing. But that's it. So we got our chin, we got our wrists, we got our elbows, we got our knees, and we got our groin, and we hit next, and then it'll microwave our character. And yeah, you could repaint the textures, but the jacket will still be the jacket. It's still hanging off the body. It's unless you made a jacket and then use a physics sim to put it on the body, which is also possible. Once you get like crazy with Blender, anything is possible. There's tutorials on all this stuff online. That's the cool thing about Blender. It's all free. Like everyone put out all the information for free.
So this process would be the same if the character you're using is also like non-human, like as long as it has those.
So is it somewhat bipedal, like 2 legs, 2 feet, or 2 legs, 2 arms kind of thing? It should work. I mean, it is also funny to do it to something that doesn't have that stuff because it does it wrong, and that's funny. That's true. Blender has a Python API, so you can code it. DT Dota, Ideogram Bernini. Someone wasn't here earlier. Come back on Friday. So yeah, Ideogram 4 came out. It's very cool. Rob likes it. We're going to talk about some of the cool ways you can prompt with it on Friday. It's very exciting. And also Bernini hit Comfy Main, which means we will get it on the cloud probably by the end of the week, which means, you guys will be able to play with Bernini on cloud, which is great because I think the model's 72 gigabytes or something. And a small. Hey, let me get this back down to regular size. She's not all wonky. Yeah, that's okay. We can delete my old character. Oh, looking good. Actually, this one came out fantastic. Oh yeah. Friendos. There's a little button down here called follow camera, and then boop, and then the camera will sort of stay tracked to their head, which is like a fun way to preview the dances and stuff. But yeah, look at this. So now we just up here in search, we type dance, and there's a dance category. We click that, and then all these are available to us now. I mean, they always were, but now they're filtered down into just dances. So you can just find some dance that you really like. The best ones are loops. Some of them are loops. Like you see a trim here, but some of them will have like maybe this one's a loop.
Try out the flare.
Flare, where? Flare? Oh yeah.
Yeah, right there.
Nailed it, eh?
Nailed it. The camera tracking is like
I know, it's so satisfying.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you guys saw how fast that was, right? Like we can just pull this into Blender now and start playing with it. So let's just do it this dance. We'll pull it into Blender. We'll start lighting it. We'll figure it out, and then if we can add maybe some more characters, and then maybe add like a screen in the thing, and then make a little video or something. I'll just try and get through it all before we run out of time. Otherwise, I'll just sit here making characters and making them dance for 45 hours. So once you have your character, once you have your dance selected, everything's good to go. We're going to download. So we just hit download, and it's going to say, do you want it in FBX? Let me, it's nice and big. Do you want it in FBX? We do. 30 frames per second is fine. Let's keep the skin on because we're not psychopaths. And keyframe reduction, let's just leave that alone. I don't even know what this does, but I'm never going to click without skin because that sounds terrifying. FBX binary, frames per second, hit it. So it's going to now download an FBX file. We gave it an FBX file, but it's giving us back an FBX file that has the animation like injected into it. So you can see I'm getting this giant hip hop dancing.fbx file. Now, I'm going to go to blender.org. I'm going to download Blender. I'm going to install Blender. I'm going to make sure I go to blender.org and nowhere else. And I'm not going to download Blender from a sketchy website, right? All right. I am going to make this a little bigger because Blender requires our full screen nonsense. Okay. General. Okay. So Blender's going to open and it's going to have a splash screen. You can just hit general up here, new file, general, or you can even just click on it and hit escape, whatever. We don't need to quick start anything. We just need to start working in Blender. So in Blender, welcome to Blender, by the way. We just pivoted into a Blender tutorial. Okay. Some very big basics in Blender. Middle click is what grabs the camera and moves it around the viewport. So when you try to left click and move stuff, what it's actually going to do is box select different things in the scene. You'll think that it's going to move the camera, but it doesn't. It box selects things, and that's good because you'll do that more than you'll actually move the camera. But if you want to move the camera, I'm going straight back to basics here. So apologies if you already know how to use Blender, but screw it, we're going deep. Middle mouse button, scroll wheel. That's your move the world around button. This is how you reposition yourself. Zoom in, zoom out, and then the other thing is shift, middle click, and drag will actually move the position of your in viewport camera. So you're going over here. Oh no, I want to see from this angle. We start using shift and the middle mouse button in conjunction to start working our way around this world. Navigating this 3D world is going to be hard on your brain at first. It's not going to make sense. It's not going to totally be easy. That's okay. It's normal. You have to actually build up the skill to be able to move your brain around in 3D. So don't freak out if you're doing stuff and you end up underneath it and you don't know what the hell's going on and everything's weird. That happens to all of us. So what's the best thing to do in Blender as soon as you open it? That's right. Delete the default cube. So click on the cube and hit the delete key. Oh, so satisfying. It's the best. It's the best part of Blender. All right. Cube's dead. We're good to go. We need to import our character so we can actually just go to our downloads folder. Scooby-Doo, drag our little file in and drop it. And it's going to give you the import dialog thing. We're just going to import. You don't need to do anything. Just hit import. And now we're going to have a little dancing lady in our scene. And if we hit spacebar, she's going to be dancing. So we did it. We brought our thing into Blender. We're done. Congratulations, everybody. So if you look down at the bottom, there's a timeline. This timeline it's just like a video editor. It's going all along. And you'll see at some point here, boom, she stops moving. Why is that? It's because we ran out of frames. The animation is only so many frames long. So when we have boop, when she stops, we're going to hit spacebar and move around and just try and find that final frame. And that's right here. So 213 is how many frames we have of an animation. So for this, just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to set the end of the animation to 213. And all that's going to do is it's just going to make her loop constantly over and over again because the animation is the same length as the actual animation of the entire thing is the same length as the character animation. So now she's dancing and everything's hunky-dory and that's great. So you can see her bones now, and we can see her bones because that's her armature. This is the bone structure that she's made out of. This is what Mixamo did, is it put these bones in her and it made her dance. Right now, we're actually in what's this mode called? Viewport shading mode. So we're seeing just the sort of the shading and the body. And you can go up here at the very tippy top that you guys can't even see. There's a bunch of stuff way at the top right. And you can actually set up all this stuff here in these drop-down settings, or you can just switch right to rendered view, which is this one in the top right. I can't even zoom in on it, but it's just this tiny little guy. The other thing you can do is hit Z or Z for you Americans, anywhere in the viewport, and just move your mouse up to rendered and then let go of Z. So It's called a radial menu. There's a bunch of them in Blender, but that's how you can swap between the different view modes by just using Z and then picking one. So in this case, we're doing rendered because we want to see the body.
And those different view modes kind of are just like different levels of like compute intensive.
Yep, that's part of it. Part of it is I might only want to see the wireframe. I might want to see what the mesh is made of. I might want to just see what the wireframe looks like filled in. That's what the shader material is. Then this is just the materials with no lighting. So that's when you want to just see what they look like flat. And then this one is with like everything lit up, lights on, all the stuff. The render is doing as much rendering as it can possibly render. So yeah, you'd use the 4 different modes for different things, but in general, you would live between rendered, solid, and material preview. Material preview, or sorry, solid when you're actually modeling stuff, material preview when you're coloring it, and then rendered when you're lighting the scene and making everything look really good. All right, so let's just I'm gonna walk through some of these settings over here on the right. Actually, maybe I'm gonna see if I can increase the UI size of Blender really quick. Interface, resolution, scale. Yeah. I'll try to make this nice and big for y'all. There we go. Okay, this is gonna be silly big, but it should be a lot easier to read. Okay. Holy cow. This is like senior Blender for seniors. Okay. Okay. So all along this column here, we have all of our settings for the objects and the scene. So all the object settings are down below this threshold and all the scene settings are above this threshold. This will become second nature as you use Blender, but for now, let's just don't worry about it. Okay, we're going to click on the nothing. We are going to go up here. We're going to look at them all in order. This is render settings. This is the settings for the render engine that we're looking at through the viewport. In this case, we are using Eevee. In Blender, there are multiple render engines. There's Eevee, there's Workbench, and there's Cycles. You don't need to worry about Workbench. Eevee is the one we will be working in for the most part. It has come a long way. It is the faster, more efficient version of render engines for Blender. Cycles is the big boy path tracing. This is sort of what you use Blender for kind of render engine, where like everything looks incredible because it's actually shooting light through the scene and reflecting things and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to use Eevee while we build it all out. And then we're going to look at the difference between Eevee and Cycles. And if it looks better enough, we will render in Cycles, but we will probably just render in Eevee because Eevee looks freaking awesome these days. They've done an incredible job. So just remember, Eevee equals speed equals real time equals I can work in Eevee while I can see it while I work in it. Then Cycles is like when it's time to do that final pass, you want everything to look right. You're working on lighting, you're working on, materials, textures, colors, that kind of thing. You're going to want to see it through the eyes of Cycles. And then sometimes if you're lucky and you have a fast enough GPU, you can actually work in Cycles in real time, depending on what you're doing. So yeah, that's the rant about the render engines in Blender. Holy cow, there's so much to cover. I'm trying not to go too fast, but man. Okay. You don't have to check any of this stuff really. I'm going to turn ray tracing on just because it looks better. If you have an RTX card, it'll look really good. You don't have to turn this on. It just makes Eevee look a lot closer to Cycles when you start adding lights and things. And then the rest of the stuff you can leave alone. Don't need to worry about it. The only other one we are going to touch is color management. Blender is, for the most part, set in ACE or in, sRGB, AGX color space. For the sake of our render today, we can stay with that. When you want actual one-to-one colors, you want to switch this to standard. And that's, you can see here, everything just got a little brighter. It's because in AGX, white is gray. And then in standard, white is white. So depending on how vibrant, whatever color space you want it in, you can make these decisions. And then there's also exposure and gamma and other settings and saturation, all that stuff. All depends on where you want to go. But for today, we're going to use AGX because we don't care because it's a scene in space. But if I'm just rendering out shaders and stuff like that, I like to use standard because it's most close to the color that you asked for. Blech. Okay. That's it for this stuff. Let's close that. Output, we'll get to this later when it comes to render time, but this is where you set all your settings to render your clip or image. So we'll do that after when we're ready to go. The rest of this stuff you can ignore for now until you get down to world. World is the first one we're going to look at with a critical eye. World is where you would set the background of the scene. In this case, a background of our scene is this gray color, but we want to actually make it black. So we're going to make the whole world just black. And then if we turn this little gizmo up here, show overlays off, we can see our characters just dancing with nothing on, like none of the bones or anything are showing, none of the grid, so you can see what your actual scene looks like. You toggle that with this button up here, this show overlays button. There's a command too, Shift Alt Z. Shift Alt Z. Doesn't work. Shift Alt Z. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So you can see the stuff when you need it, get rid of it when you don't. Look at your scene, see everything's going. For this, what we're going to do is just set up a camera and do this quickly as a scene, just so you get an idea of how to just render out an animation. Dead simple. Oh, another thing we should do is look at the scene in general and see if we can figure out where the light is. Oh, there it is. So if I click on light over here, I can see there is a light source in this scene. But you see how it's like way above her and off to the right? We don't actually want that. We want to put the light kind of in front of her so that it looks better. So how do we move things in Blender? Blender lives on these three axes here, X, Y, and Z. So you see X. The X-axis is whoa! I moved her armature, not her. Hold on. That's a fun thing. Okay, let's grab her armature. This is the X-axis. Okay. To move stuff on the X-axis, you select it and hit G for grab, and then you hit X to lock it on the X-axis. Now we can move things left and right. If I wanted to move her forwards and backwards, I'd hit G, Y, which would move her on the Y-axis. And you guessed it, G, Z would move her on the Z-axis. So we can decide where she is in all three of those dimensions. The more useful thing that you will end up doing is hitting G and then hitting Shift Z, which is going to lock it's going to move it on every axis, but it's going to lock the Z axis. In this case, the Z axis is the one that's making it go up and down. So when you lock that, you can just move her around and she'll stay on the ground exactly where she's supposed to be. So you can use this. Once you get comfortable with this, you can use it till be like, oh, that's pretty good, but actually I want to move her just over here. Rotate, like you will get used to all these commands. They will become second nature. They won't be at first. It'll take a little while. We got G for grab, we got R for rotate, and we got S for scale. Grab, rotate, scale. There's a whole bunch more, but those are the only ones you'll really end up using for the most part. You'll notice she went all crazy when I grabbed her body and then moved her. That's because the body is being pulled off of the skeleton. So that's, just so you know, that's what would happen to your body if it was pulled off of a skeleton. It's actually kind of sick. What do you think? Is that the animation?
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah,
to
it's
me.
done, right?
Render it out. That's what happens to astronauts when they go to space and they take off their
spaghettification.
I heard.
Okay, we should probably get her back on her skin. All right, back on her skeleton. All right. Yeah, so let's just let's just shoot this. Well, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to grab that light. So the whole point of this was to grab the light and move it. I just wanted to show you how. So now that we have the light, we're going to move it down. So GZ to move it down. And then we're going to hit G Shift Z to move it over in front of her. So let's have a look at this. If we look from a top-down perspective, we can see where it is, and we can move it closer. And we can look at it. Now it's too high, so we're going to move it down. And again, all this type of stuff I'm doing will become second nature to you as you do this stuff, but it is really weird at first. And the other thing we're going to do is just bring the power up on that light to 10,000. Boom. So that's going to give her some glow. Now, one other cool thing you can do is Actually, you know what? I wonder if we put it. Yeah. Okay. So G Y, we're gonna grab it and put the light behind her. It's gonna call it's what's called a rim light, and the light should come from behind her as we sort of. We might want to move it up a bit. Yeah, see how it's sparkling on her hair and stuff when she's dancing? That kinda light adds a lot of drama. Then you can also add another one by hitting Shift D on the light to duplicate, and then, G, Y, move it over. Now we have a light in front of her and a light behind her, and she should be all lit up, all cool. And then the last thing we're gonna do is set up our camera, which is really easy. We just look at our camera and we go, "Oh, that's in the wrong spot." We click our camera toggle and we look at what our camera is looking at. So now there's actually a few ways to do this. You can actually just set it exactly where you want, then hit Control Alt 0 or Control Shift 0. Oh, I don't have it set up because I don't have a numpad. Oh, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. Screw it. So think of your camera as another object in the scene. So if you move stuff on this transform here, you can actually watch it move in the world. So you can use these as well to move things around. And we're going to just do that in this case because it's easier. We're going to zero out all of these. And now the camera is like right in the middle of the scene. And we're going to set all the rotation as well to 0. So now our camera is facing straight down in the middle of the scene. So we want to actually just move the camera out in front of the person, maybe about 8 meters. And we want to swing the camera up about 90 degrees on the X. And we're going to raise the camera on the Z axis, maybe 2 meters or whatever. Now, if we think about this from a movie perspective, that camera is probably in a pretty good spot to film. So let's have a look. And bam, camera's in actually a really good spot to film. So we have our scene set up. We have everything set. Our camera is all set up. Now we're going to go to over here to our output settings and just set up our scene. This doesn't need to be wide. It can actually be tall. So we're going to swap this 1080, 1920. That's going to give us a frame like this. So there's a few ways to zoom in the camera. We can grab the camera since we're on it. We can just start pulling it in on the Y axis, which is just going to pull our character closer to the camera. We can get her set up right into the sort of middle of the scene and everything's good and that's all fine. But we had that really cool camera tracking effect going on in Mixamo that I'd like to duplicate here. And that's actually not even that hard to do. We just go to our camera. That's going to enable these camera settings. Every time you click on a different object, these settings change based on the object. You see this light bulb turns into a camera when I click on camera because these are like the camera settings. So if you're curious why you can't find them or something's missing, it's probably because you don't have the right thing selected. Back to camera, you're going to look at our camera. And you can see this little like constraints thing, which is like a pinball, looks like a pinball flipper or a gear. So if you hit this constraints thing, you can add object constraints. So we want to constrain the camera to the head of our character so that the camera is following our character's head. So how do we do that? We track to. We're going to add a track to constraint and we're going to go to our armature. And then in our armature, we can select the bone. And in this case, we're going to pick the head. So now the camera is pointing at her head and everything's great. This influence thing is actually a slider you can use on how much this camera tracking is actually being like influencing where the camera is. So you can just do a super light movement by reducing this influence down to like 0.2, 20%. So yeah, she's sort of like the camera's moving, but it's not crazy. But if I set the full influence, it's just absolutely 1-to-1 tracking her head. So I like to set that around 8 or 9 or 7 or whatever. And then you just get a little bit of a slide and everything's really nice. So let's just leave that alone and set it up. So now we have our camera pretty much dialed in. Everything's cool. Now when we move our camera, this other cool thing happens because it's tracking to the person. The camera actually becomes like a tracking camera you could use like, you could imagine making all these really cool shots. And all that is if you pull out and look at it, because the camera's there, as we pull around, it's always looking at the subject. So we can just we can make the animations where the camera moves and does all these sweeping things. And then when you start adding, backgrounds and stuff, you get some really cool options for movements and things like that. Like these are really cool too. These sort of close-up shots. And we go back to camera view. We can see what it looks like inside. So One other thing while we're in camera settings here, if you go to the camera settings of viewport display, there's a setting here called passepartout. If you turn that up, it's actually going to just get rid of everything around the camera selection so that you can see, oh, okay, so this is exactly what my camera is capturing. In this case, it's actually making a pretty cool little video. But we can grab the camera, maybe move it up a bit, maybe move it to the right a bit, maybe move it way up, maybe move it out a bit, down, whatever. But for now, I'm just going to set all this back to 0, 1, and -4. I think it was -5. Get that set up the way it was. Okay. So because it's locked in our head, the camera's going to be pointing at our head in the center of the scene. But we may not want that, right? We may want to actually point the camera down while it's tracking something else. That's what these shift things are for. Shift X shifts it left and right. Shift Y up and down. So we can center our new image by just using the camera shifter to sort of move the camera itself. And then we can actually use the FOV on the camera, field of view. Where's that setting? Up here, focal length. And we can use that to determine how our character looks with a very far vocal or very close vocal length. You get where are we? Yeah. Get a really high vocal length. You can focal length, you can flatten the person and then you get them looking really thing. You zoom in and pick different focal lengths. This is an old camera trick, but play with it. It's very interesting what you can get. So let's just kind of set this up so she's kind of in frame all the time. I see her left hand's pulling off frame, so I'm actually just going to pull to the right, pull the left a little bit. Should mostly keep her in frame. Boom, we have an animation. Okay. So actually, let's add a floor. So we're going to hit Shift A and add a mesh, a plane, and that should just add a floor, although she's above it and off to the side.
So Shift A is like create a
Shift
new
A
object.
is like add. So it adds like this menu here. So let's move this down and over to the left. Again, GX, GZ, all that stuff. Get that floor. So now, there we go. Now she's got a floor. So the other thing we can do is give this floor a back wall. So we go back to our gizmo view and see everything. Oh, I have a curve here too. Where'd that come from? Interesting. Okay. So let's say I want to extend this wall up. I would hit tab and that's going to bring me into edit mode. So I have this plane selected already before I go into edit mode, but that's important. Let's select the plane. The plane is the floor. Hit tab. That's going to switch us into edit mode, and we're going to want to switch to edge mode. There's vertex, edge, and face mode. Vertex lets you select the points on the model, and in this case, the 4 points, so the 4 edges. 1, 2, 3, 4. But we don't want vertexes. We want edges. We want to grab this edge and pull it up. So we're going to grab this whole side here. Actually, we're going to grab this side, this side. I'm just shift clicking these right now. This is really hard to see on a white background. One sec. That did almost nothing to help. There we go. Okay, yeah, see how now we can see. All right, so I'm going to select this edge, and this edge, and hit the E key and then the Z key. So E, Z, and now I'm raising this edge and I'm building a room around her. So now if I go back, we should be able to click in, and now I can change this back to a normal material. Boom, and then she should be on, in a place that has things. So now that we have walls, we have things like that, we can kind of rejiggle the lights, make everything look normal. Just get rid of the lights. So let's add some lights. We'll just light this like a scene. So we're gonna, I'm still in edit mode. You want to hit tab to go back out of edit mode. Make sure you're in object mode to add things. So we're gonna Shift A, we're gonna add a light. We're gonna add an area light. Difference between the point lights we had is that an area light is like a rectangle, and then it shoots light in that direction. So we can use that to make cool lights. So the light is down by the floor. If we hit this, we should see what it's doing. Let's hit GZ, bring it up. GY, let's try and get it over top of our subject here. Okay, so now we have a light right over top. So now we can bring up the power of the light. So we can bring this light up so that it's filling the whole room like that. And maybe get like 10,000 is probably too hot. That's not too bad. Okay, so now we have an overhead light and it's lighting the scene. And it's enough. But if there's any people here with lighting experience, they'll know that's a very flat way to light a scene. Maybe not the best way. So we're going to try a triplane light. So we're going to duplicate this one. We're going to move it over here. We're going to duplicate it again. We're going to move it over here. G, Shift Z. And now I have 3 lights. So what we can do is take these 3 lights and we can actually track them to the person's head. Track to armature, head, boink. Track to armature, head, boom. Track to armature, head. So now all these lights are actually going to track right to our subject and we can just start moving them around in the scene. So in this case, we're going to try and get some cool lighting going by just arranging the lights around the person and getting them from all the angles. And it should make some cool wall shadows and stuff as the lights hit the walls in different ways. Then you could like lighten it up, brighten up the face, things like that. And the other thing is now I can go into these 3 lights and I can start adjusting the power of them individually. So right now, 10,000 is probably too much for each of them. So let's set them all to 1,000 power. And then we can pick one to really, really sweeten. That's kind of cool. I don't love this, but it's enough. Let's render this. We've made a scene. Let's render it. So in order to render it, we go over to output. We check all of our settings. Everything's chill. But right now, it's going to make a image sequence. But we want to make a video. So let's go down to video, which is media type, video. And then there's one more setting you have to do, which is down in encoding. You want to set that to MPEG-4. And then output quality, perceptually lossless. This will make the right video. Then you can just pick a folder on your computer by hitting this little button here and going and finding it. I'm just going to put mine in the temp folder and I'm going to say dancer heart sleeve. I think that's all we need to do. And then we just hit render animation up here, render animation. And we'll get a really cool EV animation. It's going to render us a video. And the cool thing is this video is a loop. So yeah, you could put up a bunch of posters around with your art on them. You could, like any plane is a poster. You just got to put an image texture on it. Yeah. I can't wait to see what you guys make with this. Almost done. So I'll show you guys what this looks like in cycles. It'll look a lot nicer. Okay, that's done. Let's have a look at the video. Where are you? Boom. Headshot. We did it. Congratulations, everybody. You made your first Blender animation. Party time. Okay, so let's look at this in cycles. So we have our 3 lights, which look really cool, but I bet in cycles they're going to be insane. So let's go over here, EV cycles, and we'll go to GPU compute. So now you'll see that this is actually rendering with path tracing. See how everything looks like way better. So let's bring the brightness of these lights way down. Way down. We'll just see what it looks like with like almost no lighting. See, she's lit up real bright. Why is that? Is her skin emissive? Like, why is she so lit? I wonder why that is. Oh, yeah, that would do it. Oh, interesting. They've decided to put it. That's because if we'd picked PBR, we would have got the full pack and it would have been lit properly. But because we picked in Comfy, because we picked shaded, it just made it an emissive texture, which means if I hit it with lights, it's only going to shine more. The lighting won't actually affect the model, but it will affect the area around the model. So let's set those back to about, I don't know, 100. Nope. 500. Yeah, that'll work. 500 and 500. So yeah, I would try a PBR next time, or if you're doing it, try a PBR. So let's just fire this off in cycles and see how long it takes to render. So in cycles, there's a few things you can do to mitigate time. In the settings over here in cycles, the viewport settings, you're gonna want to set this to like 16 or 64 or something, and then turn denoising on, and that's gonna really increase your the performance in the viewport. It won't look quite as good, but man, it's fast. And then down here in render mode, kind of same thing. We're gonna get like 128 samples, and set it to, and I'm gonna actually just change this denoiser to use GPU. All right, let's just render one frame by hitting F12. See how long it takes. 2 seconds. That's not too bad. Let's do that. So let's just render that. Roll render animation. It'll take longer, but this one will look better. And that's the main difference, really, between cycles and thing. Yeah. We have a little time left. Does anyone have any questions while this is rendering? Maybe we can do some Q&A while we wait. Anyone? Can you export another and swap the texture in Blender? No, you would just make a new model. You project patterns? Yeah, you absolutely can. Right on, friends. Wait, where'd my screen go? Oh, there it is. Rendering, rendering, rendering. So yeah, this shouldn't take too long. Would the topology be all wonky? Yeah, I mean, now the character is rigged. Can you apply any other animations in Blender? You would apply the animations in Mixamo, but with the rigged skeleton in Blender, you can do whatever you want. Each animation is simply just a collection of poses. So, yeah. This PC is a 5090, 9950X. Yeah. Yeah. HDR renders for Instagram. Oh, yeah, nice. Polyhaven. Yeah, actually, yeah, you know what? We don't need to watch this render. We know it'll render. I'm going to talk about that real quick. Someone mentioned Polyhaven. There are these things called HDRIs. HDRIs are environment maps. So, yeah, we have her dancing in this cold room here, but she doesn't need to be in a room. She can actually be in a whole ass scene. So let's delete all the area lights, and now we have just our character in this big gray world. We want to add a world around her. We can actually add it as a color. So if we go to our world and change our color here to environment texture, it's going to go all purple, but that's okay because we can now add a file, and that's going to make the whole world something. So I don't have my HDRIs on here, so let me go grab one real quick. HDRI Polyhaven. All right. HDRI is an equirectangular image. So we got this cool Golden Gate Hills. Let's use this. Download this massive file. Yoink. All right. So let's open this massive file I just downloaded. Doink. Now she's in this world. It actually is that easy. She won't be on, anything ground like, because obviously, but you can do things like if this is the shot, if this is the scene, we can go into our little equirectangular world here. And now this is the beauty of Blender. I haven't even got into this for you comfy nerds. So over here, I just grabbed the edge and I pulled it over to split my panes and make a new window, to go over here and add a shader editor. So if I go here, add a shader editor. Now I'm looking at the shaders for the world, but I want to actually edit the world shader. I'm trying to remember how to do that off the top of my head. Right here, object. We're going to change the shader to world. And now I'm looking at this is the shader that makes up this background that's happening here. Okay. So let's have a look at it. What's it doing? Well, it's loading an equirectangular image and it's making it the background and it's plugging it into the world output. It is actually that easy. What we're going to add now is a vector mapping or a mapping node. And we're going to plug into that the texture coordinates of the object. Boink. So now we're back in the world. We have everything mapped. However, we now can control what the world looks like or where it is perspectiving from. In this case, we may want her to dance on a patch of stuff that doesn't move and feels realistic. And now all of a sudden, with the camera movement, with the character, with just a dead blank HDRI in the background, this is actually something. It's like, it's not nothing. This is kind of an animation. So let's render it. So, the higher the quality of the EXR, the higher the quality of background you're going to get. Spend some time. You can make some really cool animations like this. The other thing you can do is take this and then go take this source video and run it through AI and get something new out of it. You can always use this stuff as a sort of block out to make a new clip. So yeah, sky's the limit here. Yeah, the PBR material would make the characters like materials and lighting actually match this area around her. So it's definitely worth exploring. So let's see what that looks like. Let's see, temp. Where are you? It's actually pretty good. Hey. Right on, friends. Front to back, Blender. We did it. Yay. You stuck around for the whole thing. I'm impressed. Yeah. We'll be back with more fun stuff very soon. Let me get rid of this. Doink. There we go. All right. Yeah. Why are we? There we go. Yeah. That was a lot, Rob. Did any of that make sense, or was that just like?
See, G, X, G, Y, Shift Z. Kind of took some mental notes of some of those shortcuts, but
man, that you're already a year into most Blender people.
Yeah, no, it's definitely trial by fire, like you mentioned, with any software. Really, it's just getting the reps and.
Yeah, and like I would recommend anyone who wants to just try this, like just follow along with me and leave in the comments if you have questions, stuff that didn't make sense, stuff you need me to go back over, and I will watch the comments on my phone and try to respond with things to help you get past these blockages. Because honestly, Blender is doing about 50 tutorials until you're comfortable with it, and then you're really comfortable with Blender. So you won't get it after the first tutorial, and that's okay. If you even learn how to do one thing from that tutorial, that's awesome. You'll learn something from the next one, and then you'll figure out everything you need. But yeah, thanks, Rob. Yeah, hopefully Friday we'll dive more into diffusion stuff and hopefully be able to hang out with some people that know a lot about ideogram.
Yeah, no, this was great, and yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thanks everybody. We'll see you all on Friday. Drive safe. Bye everybody.